On the left-hand side, it is Jamie Faulkner on Azuri taking on Liam Bennett on Arachne. That lower life total of Arachne starting at 19. Going to go ahead, get to Spiders biting, and we'll see what Liam Bennett's game plan looks like. We're not familiar with these players' decks. We didn't get the chance to watch them draft. I do see quite a nice equipment suite over on Jamie Faulkner's side. And I want to point out here those Fleetfoot sandals down in the bottom there. A lot of players writing that off as sort of a worthless piece of equipment. I kind of agree. It's not very good, with one exception. In Azuri, I think when it gets into Azuri's hands, you're able to represent 2 of those stealth attacks on a given turn. You come in with 2 1-power blues, and it makes blocking for your opponent an absolute nightmare when you get to the late game.
Yeah, there's a very popular Singaporean player called Chu Heng he really talks about these pieces of equipment being heavily underrated. They're not first pickable. They're not going to hold up an entire deck, but what you can do with this deck, I mean, we even saw it in the round that we cast where it was used to pump a sneak attack.
Yeah.
It has a lot of sort of facility.
Absolutely does. Absolutely does.
Brian, I do want to ask you, though, how do you feel that the mirror match between the two assassins, Azuri versus Arachne, tends to go?
It really depends on deck construction, and that's the thing. I don't want to hyper-generalize around these heroes, because as we just saw when we were looking at Alan Lau's deck, there's a lot of ways to present your Arachne deck. You could be focused on breakpoints. You could be focused on going really wide with stealth attacks. You could have all the attack reactions in the world and make blocking an absolute nightmare and just offer on-hit after on-hit after on-hit. You could have a bunch of hurls in your deck and have unpreventable damage. So many ways to do it. So I don't want to overgeneralize. It really depends so much on the texture of your draft. And seeing both of these players make the finals of their draft with Assassin, you wonder if maybe they were in an underdrafted Assassin pot. If they were the only 2 Assassin drafters, all bets are off. It's anyone's game, and these decks could be some of the most powerful we see all weekend.
Yep, just a Spider's Bite into a Wither here for Liam Bennett.
Nice weaving, right? Representing virtual breakpoint now. Oh, a good answer for that. Peace of mind going to come down to the prevention effect.
Looks like they're just looking for a Ponder token here to pair with the Peace of Mind.
There is that Ponder token. Well defended from Jamie Faulkner, and we have to see, is Jamie looking to fatigue? Does he want to run Liam out of resources? And on the Arachne side, you got to think about that from moment one. You have to ask the question, what is my opponent trying to accomplish here? How do I need to conserve my resources? How aggressive do I need to be with my attack? Should I be using Spider's Bites more? It's a really, really delicate dance. And it's going to be Isolate coming through from Jamie Faulkner. Going to go ahead, activate Azuri. It looks like a yellow Destructive Deliberation. Going to go ahead and refresh that Ponder token. Double Ponder. Not the most effective synergy. There you see both Ponders pop. One of those cards can go to Arsenal. 3 more cards will be drawn.
So, Brian, I know it's draft, and sometimes, you get the cards that you get. You don't have too many. But do you think that these players are potentially playing over 30 cards in the mirror?
I think so. I think if there's anywhere you really do want to lean on those 30 cards, it is in the Assassin Mirror, and that gives you the opportunity to go ahead and just, dictate the terms of the game. If you have those extra cards in deck, a lot of times you can go ahead and use that to your advantage. I will say, though, if your Arachne deck is high quality, if you have something to present like 22 reds and 8 blues, jam that all day. I mean, that's a great spot to be in. Your damage output is just so unpredictable, so high, that you're able to go Spider's Bite into threat on every single turn of the game. That's a really good spot to be. So again, I'm kind of dodging your questions. It just depends too much on their deck construction for me to really answer that question in the default.
Looks like we have a sneak attack here for Jamie. Oh, sorry, Jamie blocking the infect.
Yeah, Jamie on defense now. It's like potentially committing those toxic pips. And there you see our first reaction. I believe that is a spike with inertia. Going to go ahead and pump up that infect. So we're now looking at a couple of those debilitating diseases headed Jamie Faulkner's way. This is going to affect output over the next couple turns. Looks like a Blood Rot Pox coming through, as well as an inertia token.
Mm-hmm. And Jamie double blocking that prior to the attack reaction. So I wonder if the attack reaction was a bit heads up there, or if Jamie was just unable to utilize his hand.
Yeah, it's a good question. Spider's Bite going to be the first salvo here from Jamie Faulkner. Life totals at 14 and 11.
Spider's Bite into Destructive Deliberation, using the Threadbare Tunic and playing the Destructive out of Arsenal.
Yeah, and a great counter to that inertia token. Of course, you stack those in the proper order. You still get to get your arsenal on the next turn. I really like Destructive Deliberation in this format. I think it's a card, again, that goes a little bit underappreciated, but it's so critical at playing around these inertia effects, so critical at presenting those breakpoints. Sometimes you just want to be able to sink a card into a nice 5-power attack with upside. I think it's very efficient. It's very card economical and sets you up well for future turns.
Yeah, I feel like this concept of stacking the ponder token over the inertia token is so powerful. It's something we're seeing in limited in most games, and it's most of our constructed games where we see Lexi. It's occurring multiple times.
Yeah, really strong counter to the effect. Life totals slowly ticking down for both of these players. We'll start to see deck pressure start to exert itself on this game as well. That's just part of these Assassin Mirrors. Players start to count decks, think about how many attacks are left, think about how much potential damage they can represent. It's leading off here with a Prowl. You get that pump on the next stealth attack, potentially representing a breakpoint.
Yeah, the single card in hand looks like it's a Malign. It's going to follow up Red Malign.
Okay, so no damage prevention effects available here. That's kind of, it feels like a throwaway clause a lot of the time until it's not, and it just wins you the game.
Yeah, until it's not.
Like the Malign is going to hit here. 1 damage leaking through. Jamie Faulkner coming back with a Seek Horizon with Go again. So this is Azuri getting a little bit wide here. It's hard for Azuris to get wide, but something like Seek Horizon into stealth attack out of Arsenal, flipping a card from hand, really one of Azuri's bread and butter plays and one of her big power spikes as well.
Wonder if we're going to see just that here.
Yeah, and
so
there
we do
is
have
an Isolate.
Yep, yellow Isolate, it looks like. So the ability to swap that out.
What is Liam going to do faced with the threat of potentially a devastating on-hit from the Azuri? Maybe just raw damage in the form of something like Red Sneak Attack. Very threatening right now. Life total starting to creep lower and lower.
Yeah, it just feels hard to overblock something like this where Jamie can potentially just arsenal it and utilize it on the following turn. It is a Destructive Deliberation, so we are going to get the Ponder token, so effectively replacing the Arsenal card.
Yeah, and Jamie just running on the back of those Destructive Deliberations, keeping his arsenal nice and stocked up, ready to go over and over again. And it's really led to him presenting just successive, powerful turns as the Azuri.
Yeah, it's a lot of card advantage for Jamie, allowing him to block with more cards from hand and deploy the threats from Arsenal. A lot of prowls out of Liam's deck.
Yeah, absolutely. And you could tell a high focus on getting that kind of go wide Arachne together pretty early on in this draft. Just trying to leak a little damage. Looks like Sedate going to come through as the second stealth attack this turn. I believe that's a Sedate yellow for 2.
It is, yep. Sedate yellow for 2. I think it was blocked by a Malign.
Yeah, so it got pumped by the previous stealth attack.
Razor's Edge drawn by Liam here.
Yeah, good card to keep track of. We saw how critical that could be in our last game.
Like a red infect for Jamie Faulkner here.
And this is the annoying spot to be in, playing against an Azuri. What does this mean? Is this an attack reaction? Is it the Azuri attack reaction?
Especially at 5. It starts to get really tough. You don't have the luxury to say no blocks. Obviously, the Blood Drop Pox token would not be great after taking this infect. But yeah, I mean, you lose sort of that flexibility to underblock Azuri's potential swap once you get down to these lower life.
And look what it is. What a surprise. Another Destructive Deliberation going to go ahead and hit. Not really all that relevant in this spot, except for that damage, which, yeah, I guess that's relevant. I mean, like, Liam's only at 4. The more you creep through these little bits of damage, the more those spider's bites start to be a threat. And now we see a little bit of go wide from Liam. It is going to be a Ravenous Rabble. Pretty good hand setup here. Potential to maybe get in some damage here with this and a couple of stealth attacks.
Hits a red as well, which is, Ravenous Rabble, a very popular card in Constructed, very famous card in Flesh and Blood, but sometimes does underperform in Limited because of the inconsistency of hitting that red. But when it does, I mean, 0 for 4 with Go again is about as good as it gets.
Can't do much better than that in Limited for sure. And it looks like Toxic Tip's going to be committed to defense here. 3 damage going to leak. Faulkner prioritizing staying at 4, and here's another Prowl. So our next stealth attack going to be buffed. 2 cards in hand, still representing something like another stealth attack plus pump. Really, really scary if you're in Jamie's spot. Need to manage that life total extremely carefully right now. Both players kind of playing on a razor's edge, if you will.
Yeah, I mean, we know that Liam Bennett does have the razor's edge in hand, so it makes this Prowl that much
he
more.
He did block with a razor's edge on the last turn. So unless he has a second one, it may be used, but I mean, like, as Arachne, you should have a lot of razor's edges. That's kind of what we're here for. So let's see what the follow-up is from Liam. It is going to be a backstab coming down, and I believe there is another razor's edge in hand for Liam.
Yep, absolutely. Jamie faced with a pretty tough problem here. Does double block face up, so I mean, surely it's going in the arsenal.
Really smart call, but like that's part of the problem.
Turn, yeah.
Now you have to answer that next turn. Now you're basically committed to overblocking for the rest of the game unless you can find lethal here. So the start is going to be a sedate. Now if you're on Liam's side, you're saying what's the maximum output? And as Azuri, the maximum output from a card attack with stealth and 1 card in hand, think it's 7. Like that's kind of where you lie. Yeah, sneak attack or gore belching actually is another one you can do. But the other fear is, what if we actually have double attack reaction now? It's not likely, but it is possible. You can just go razor's edge, and present damage out of nowhere. So again, the impossibility of playing against these assassins, everything's so uncertain against them.
Yeah, I'm assuming Liam just has to play to his outs and plays to whatever has the highest probability. You know, maybe the double attack reaction is just unbeatable and you have to take those beats.
Sometimes, yeah, that is how it goes. And Liam wants to preserve that next turn. With that, I believe red razor's edge rolled up. It really is suiting Liam to go ahead and present some unpredictable large chunks of damage right here.
Very interested to see how Liam blocks here. I think that this is kind of the critical turning point of the game. Both players posturing for this sort of unknown damage that could potentially come.
Another game of Outsiders Limited coming down to the wire, both in terms of damage, life totals, deck building. Everything is stressful when it comes to Outsiders Limited. I'm stressed out and I'm here sitting in the booth, and it looks like a large block going to be committed here by Liam. It's 2 cards and a piece of equipment. So really wants to soak up anything that Jamie Faulkner could be preventing. Now, those are 2 blocks, so a total block of 5 on this card, and it looks like Jamie's just going to go ahead and pass. And now we go back to Liam.
So Jamie effectively having an IP penalty there, not being able to use the card in hand. What does that tell you about what Jamie potentially has in Arsenal as we see Malign come out, and that Razor's Edge might be deployed because this Malign is actually... It says it's 2 damage, but it could be the Razor's Edge. It's a pretty tough card to deal with.
Yeah, follow-up here is the backstab, and you would love, if you were Liam, to see a 2-block put in front of this somehow. You're just begging. Please, Jamie, block for 2. Just one time.
Double block.
Yeah,
wow, Jamie,
overblock.
and blocking with his own Razor's Edge. Does that tell us anything about the context of Jamie's arsenal and his hand? Is now he's blocked with the Razor's Edge. He kept an extra card in hand.
It's not a stealth attack. I think we know that with certainty. And actually just draws up on that turn. So the card left behind, probably a red card. And this really paves the way for Liam to get to work with those Spider's Bite. A critical part of Arachne's endgame is weaving these Spider's Bite. And there's a short and sharp on the Spider's Bite out of nowhere.
Does Jamie have a prevention effect in his arsenal?
Let's see. It's possible.
Okay.
Or he just has the reaction in hand. Very good reaction at the ready.
Blood Rot, too.
Yeah, and that's important. This is going to, I believe, leak 1 damage if that's a red, short, and sharp. Oh,
2.
It's a second Blood Rot trap.
I haven't seen that before, Brian.
No, and that's going to stack up a second Blood Rot Pox, and those represent lethal now towards Liam Bennett. So what is left in hand for Liam? Does he try and just go for it, try and find the kill? Does he have to save a bunch of blues to try and prevent the damage from these Blood Rot Pox? Short and sharp heads to the bin. What is the follow-up on this Spider's Bite? No Spider's Bite trigger live yet.
I expected some prevention effects, but I didn't expect 2-0 for 5.
Yeah, and here is Sedate. Now, there should be, I believe, 3 cards in hand for Jamie. Here's a stealth attack. Blue? Question mark?
Blue or red, it's hard for us to tell.
Yeah, it is really hard to parse. It may be a red one actually coming through here.
This might be the one where you want it to be blue.
Yeah.
So he potentially takes it, and you can finally deploy that Razor's Edge, because Jamie has been very on top of sort of heads-up blocking.
If there's another stealth attack, though, Jamie can't double block these both, right? He does have some vulnerability on this turn. So if it's 3 and 3, Liam may have found a window here to actually force through this damage.
Very true.
And 2 cards going to be committed here. And there looks like a 3 block and a 2 block. So this is a block for 5. The follow-up is just paying for a Blood Rot. Going to take 2. Fall to 2 is Liam.
Okay, a prowl for 3. I mean, that's, I think that Liam can work with that here. Not too bad. Actually, maybe the card in Arsenal would have been a bit more scary, another prevention effect. I think that we're at pitch stack by now, so Liam probably knows no more prevention effects left in the deck.
Yep.
The double trap was sort of the last surprise out of Jamie Faulkner, I believe.
I would expect so.
But Jamie Faulkner, I think he knows that Liam has a Razor's Edge.
He's certainly played every turn of this game since Liam got the Razor's Edge like he has a Razor's Edge, and I think correctly so. We are going to go ahead and commit a little bit more equipment here. Is Liam. Looks like a Death Touch and a Mask. Going to get a full block there. That was a face-up attack, very clear. And now Liam gets to put together a 3-card hand plus Razor's Edge in Arsenal. Is there lethal available? Again, I can't emphasize enough how important these Spider's Bites are. Getting the initiative like this not only allows Liam to threaten lethal with those Spider's Bites plus his attacks, but also starts asking fatigue questions of Jamie Faulkner. Liam potentially able to shift to that role as well. So this mirror match of Assassins, very, very close right now, is going to be just a clean block on the Spider's Bite. Very hard to let these go through at this point. It makes everything so much more risky.
Yeah, absolutely. But you need the card economy to be able to overblock what, I think that Jamie has read will be a Razor's Edge.
Yeah, and this is a block for 3 on this stealth attack. And one more...
Infectious Host.
Yeah, Infectious Host. So not offering the threat of Razor's Edge there, and Jamie correctly reading it, just a 1-card block, 1 card left in hand. Is it one for offense or is it one for arsenal?
Wow.
3 cards left in deck for Jamie. He's just going to activate that Spider's Bite and play the next turn with 4 cards in hand. And I think if you're Liam, you're just asking, how much damage can I do? If you can present enough damage, you do not care what Jamie has at this point.
I think that Liam wins this race due to the Razor's Edge, right? Jamie is on 3, is a bit higher life, but we'll be able to deploy the Spider's Bite here, come with the attack, and Jamie is going to lose the luxury of being able to overblock
absolutely
the attack very, very quickly here.
Yep, absolutely. And these Spider's Bites just going to come through. This first one does get through. The second one now has to be blocked.
Yep. So this is also, we have triggered the ability as well, so we are going to get a block, 3 cards left in hand. I do see a stealth attack in hand. One is Prowl. There's the Prowl deployed.
Potentially offering a breakpoint if there's another stealth attack in hand, and that combined with the Razor's Edge could be enough to do it. Let's see. Yeah, here is one more stealth attack, going to be buffed up here. Jamie Faulkner at 2. Puts a card in front, and now it's time for Razor's Edge. And that is going to get a chuckle out of both players as Liam Bennett moves on to be our next 7-0 here on day 1 of the Pro Tour. And that was just classic Assassin shenanigans. Back and forth, both players considering fatigue.